A sudden trip, a wedding, a religious event, a vacation you've been planning for months, and then your period shows up uninvited. It feels frustrating, inconvenient, and sometimes even stressful. But here's the truth most people don't talk about enough. Delaying your period is medically possible, but it must be done safely and correctly. Today, we're going to break down what actually works, what is safe, what is risky, and what every woman should know before trying to shift her menstrual cycle. Your body deserves respect, not confusion. Think about this for a moment. How often do women feel anxious, unprepared, or even frustrated when their menstrual cycle doesn't match their plans? A sudden period before an important event, unexpected cramps during travel, or emotional discomfort at the wrong time can make it feel like your body is working against you. But here is the deeper truth. Your body is not your enemy. It is a highly intelligent biological system that follows a natural rhythm designed to protect your reproductive and overall health. The menstrual cycle is not random. It is controlled by a precise hormonal orchestra involving estrogen and progesterone, rising and falling in a carefully timed pattern each month. When this balance shifts, your period begins. When it stays steady, your cycle remains regular. So instead of seeing it as something unpredictable, imagine it as a built-in biological calendar that reflects your internal health. When women start understanding this, everything changes. Fear turns into awareness, and confusion turns into clarity. But here's the hook most people never hear. Your cycle often reflects your lifestyle. Stress, sleep patterns, diet, emotional health, and even overthinking can influence your hormones more than you realize. That means your body is constantly communicating with you, not sabotaging you. Irregularity is not always a flaw. Sometimes it is a signal. A signal that your body is under pressure, that it needs rest, or that something in your internal balance is shifting. Ignoring these signals, or trying to force control, without understanding them can actually create more confusion instead of solving the problem. Now pause and think, what happens when we treat the body with respect instead of resistance? Women who begin to track their cycles often notice patterns they never paid attention to before. They realize energy levels rise and fall at predictable times. They understand when they are more sensitive emotionally, when they feel strongest physically, and when their body naturally needs rest. This awareness alone can transform how a woman experiences her monthly cycle. It is no longer something to fear or hide. It becomes something to understand and work with. Another important truth is that respect for your body means not rushing to override it without reason. Many women are tempted to interfere with their cycle for convenience, but without proper medical understanding, this can create hormonal confusion. The body does not respond well to repeated disruption. Instead, it thrives in balance, consistency, and care. When you start respecting that natural design, you are not limiting yourself. You are actually protecting your long-term reproductive health. And here is something powerful to realize. Your menstrual cycle is not just about periods. It is closely connected to your skin, mood, energy levels, metabolism, and even mental clarity. When your hormones are in harmony, you feel more stable, more focused, and more in control of your daily life. When they are disturbed, everything can feel slightly off. That is why respect is not just an emotional idea. It is a medical necessity. The moment you shift your mindset from, "Why is my body doing this to me?" to, "What is my body trying to tell me?" everything begins to change internally. You stop fighting your natural rhythm and start understanding it. You begin to notice that your body has been communicating all along, through timing, symptoms, and subtle changes that were never meant to confuse you, but to guide you. Safe choices always come before quick solutions. Let's pause on that for a second, because in a world full of instant advice, social media hacks, and unverified quick fixes, this is the one principle that protects your health the most. When it comes to something as sensitive as your menstrual cycle and hormones, speed should never be more important than safety. The human body is not a machine you can reset with random inputs. It is a deeply regulated system that responds to even the smallest hormonal changes. Here's a reality check that many women only learn the hard way. What seems like a simple shortcut today can create long-term imbalance tomorrow. When someone hears about delaying periods or adjusting cycles, the idea might sound easy. Just take something, change timing, and move on. But behind that simplicity is a complex hormonal mechanism involving the brain, ovaries, and uterus working in sync. If that balance is disrupted without proper guidance, the consequences are not always immediate, but they can show up later as irregular cycles, unexpected bleeding patterns, mood disturbances, or hormonal instability. Now here's the hook you need to remember. Just because something is accessible does not mean it is safe. Many over-the-counter solutions, internet suggestions, or self-medication attempts may promise control, but they often ignore individual health differences. Every woman's hormonal profile is unique. What works for one body may not work for another. That is why medical guidance is not a restriction, it is protection. Think about it this way. If your cycle is controlled by a delicate hormonal conversation between your brain and reproductive system, then any external intervention is like interrupting that conversation. Without understanding timing, dosage, and medical history, you are essentially guessing with a system that requires precision. And guessing with hormones is never harmless. Even small missteps can create ripple effects that take months to correct. Another important truth is that safety is not just about avoiding immediate side effects. It is about protecting your future reproductive health. Many women do not realize that repeated or improper hormonal manipulation can affect cycle regularity over time. What starts as occasional adjustment can slowly turn into dependency or unpredictability. That is why healthcare professionals always emphasize proper evaluation before any hormonal decision is made. Here is something powerful to understand. Safe choices are not always the easiest choices, but they are always the smartest ones. It may feel convenient to follow a trend or advice from someone who had a different experience, but your body is not a trend. It is a biological system that deserves individual care. Medical safety is built on understanding your history, your risk factors, your lifestyle, and your hormonal baseline before making any changes. And here, another hook. Real control over your body does not come from random decisions, it comes from informed decisions. When you choose safety first, you are not losing freedom, you are gaining long-term stability. You are reducing risks you cannot see today but would regret tomorrow. You are choosing consistency over chaos and protection over experimentation. Even something that looks harmless on the surface can carry hidden risks when hormones are involved. That is why healthcare providers study years of physiology and reproductive science before recommending any intervention. It is not about limiting options. It is about filtering out danger and preserving balance. So every time there is a temptation to take a shortcut, the question should not be, how fast can I fix this? But instead, is this safe for my body in the short term and the long term? Knowledge is your strongest protection. Now think about this for a moment. What if the biggest difference between confusion and confidence in your health is simply what you know? Not luck, not genetics, not even access, but understanding. Because when it comes to your body, especially your hormonal system, ignorance doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you uncertain. And uncertainty is where most mistakes begin. Here's the hook you need to remember. You cannot manage what you do not understand. Many women go through their menstrual cycles every month without truly knowing what is happening inside their bodies. They know the experience, but not the science behind it. They feel the symptoms, but not the reason behind them. And when you don't understand the why, every change feels alarming. A delayed period feels like panic. A heavier flow feels like danger. A lighter cycle feels like confusion. But knowledge transforms all of that. Let's go deeper. Your menstrual cycle is not just a monthly event. It is a hormonal process involving communication between your brain, ovaries, and uterus. This system is influenced by internal signals like stress hormones, sleep cycles, nutrition, and even emotional well-being. Now here's the powerful part. When you understand these connections, you stop reacting emotionally to every change and start responding logically. You begin to see patterns instead of problems. And here, another hook. Fear thrives where education is missing. When women don't understand their cycle, they are more likely to believe myths, follow unverified advice, or make decisions based on anxiety rather than science. A simple delay can be misinterpreted as something serious, or a normal variation can be mistaken for a disorder. But when you are educated, you filter information differently. You stop trusting everything you hear and start questioning whether it aligns with how the body actually works. Knowledge also gives you control without interference. That means you don't always need to act. You first observe, understand, and then decide. For example, recognizing how stress can delay ovulation helps you understand that not every irregular cycle is a medical emergency. Understanding how hormonal fluctuations affect mood helps you stop blaming yourself for emotional changes. Awareness turns chaos into structure. Now consider this. The more you learn about your body, the less vulnerable you become to misinformation. In today's world, advice is everywhere: social media tips, home remedies, cultural myths, and personal experiences shared as universal truths. Without knowledge, all of it sounds equally valid. But with education, you gain the ability to separate science from speculation. That is a form of protection many people underestimate. Here's a deeper insight. Knowledge doesn't just protect your body, it protects your decisions. When you understand hormonal health, you are less likely to experiment dangerously, less likely to panic unnecessarily, and more likely to seek proper medical advice at the right time. You begin to respect the complexity of your system instead of trying to oversimplify it. And here's a final hook to hold on to. Every informed decision you make today reduces confusion in your future. When you understand how your cycle works, you are no longer dependent on fear or guesswork. You are guided by clarity. You start recognizing what is normal for your body, what needs attention, and what simply needs patience. Balance is more powerful than control. Now stop for a moment and really think about that, because most women are not struggling because they lack control over their bodies, but because they are trying too hard to control something that is meant to stay balanced, not forced. The human hormonal system is not designed for rigid command. It is designed for rhythm. And when rhythm is respected, the body naturally finds its own stability. Here's the hook you need to understand. The more you try to force your body into strict patterns, the more resistance you may actually create internally. Hormones are not switches you turn on and off at will. They are fluctuating messengers that respond to your entire lifestyle. Sleep, stress, nutrition, emotional well-being, physical activity, every single one of these plays a role in maintaining or disrupting balance. So when you focus only on controlling your cycle without addressing the bigger picture, you are only working on the surface, not the system. Let's go deeper. Many women believe that having control means having perfect predictability every single month. But in reality, a healthy body is not always perfectly identical. It is adaptable. Small variations in timing or flow are often part of natural hormonal fluctuations. And here is the important insight. Balance allows flexibility, while control demands rigidity. One supports long-term health, the other often leads to unnecessary pressure and anxiety. Now here's another hook. Your body is constantly adjusting itself even when you are not aware of it. If you are stressed, your cortisol levels rise, which can influence ovulation. If your sleep is poor, your hormone production may shift slightly. If your nutrition is inconsistent, your cycle may respond accordingly. This is not dysfunction, it is adaptation. And adaptation is a sign of a living, responsive system, not a broken one. When women shift from control to balance, something powerful happens. They stop overanalyzing every small change. Instead of asking, "Why is this different this month?" they start asking, "What is my body responding to right now?" That shift alone reduces anxiety significantly, because now the focus is not on forcing outcomes but understanding causes. Here is another key idea. Balance is built through consistency, not intensity. You don't achieve hormonal stability through extreme actions or sudden interventions. You achieve it through steady sleep patterns, regular meals, stress management, and mindful self-care. Even hydration and emotional well-being quietly influence hormonal harmony more than most people realize. Balance is not dramatic. It is subtle, but deeply powerful. And here's a hook you should never forget. Control often creates tension, but balance creates trust. When you try to micromanage every aspect of your cycle, you may end up feeling more stressed, which ironically affects the very system you are trying to control. But when you trust your body's ability to regulate itself, while supporting it with healthy habits, You create an environment where stability happens naturally. Another important truth is that balance respects individuality. What works for one woman may not work exactly the same for another. That is why rigid expectations often fail. Your body has its own rhythm, shaped by genetics, lifestyle, and environment. When you accept this individuality, you stop comparing and start listening. And listening is where real balance begins. Here's a deeper reflection. Balance does not mean doing nothing. It means doing the right things in the right proportion. It means supporting your body without overwhelming it. It means understanding when to act and when to allow space for natural regulation. This approach reduces unnecessary interventions and helps the body maintain its own internal harmony more effectively than constant adjustments. Avoid myths, trust science. Now let's be honest for a moment. How many times have you heard advice about women's health that sounded natural, traditional, or home-based, but had no real scientific backing? From herbal mixtures to kitchen remedies to social media hacks, information spreads fast, but truth takes discipline to verify. And here is the hook you need to remember. Just because something is widely believed does not mean it is medically correct. In women's health, myths are especially powerful because they are often passed down through generations or shared emotionally by people who genuinely believe in them. But belief is not the same as evidence. Science does not rely on stories. It relies on studies, controlled observations, and biological understanding. And when it comes to something as sensitive as hormonal balance and menstrual health, relying on myths can create confusion instead of clarity. Here's another hook. The human body does not respond to tradition. It responds to biology. No matter how popular a remedy may be in conversation, if it does not interact with hormones, cells, and physiological pathways in a scientifically proven way, its effects are either minimal or unpredictable. This is why medical science exists, to separate perception from reality and assumptions from proven mechanisms. Now let's go deeper. One of the biggest dangers of myths is that they often delay proper care. When someone believes a home remedy will fix a hormonal issue, they may avoid seeking medical evaluation. This delay can turn a simple, manageable condition into a more persistent problem. Science-based medicine, on the other hand, focuses on understanding the root cause first before suggesting any intervention. That is the key difference between guessing and diagnosing. And here is a powerful insight. Myths feel comfortable because they offer simple answers, but science may feel uncomfortable because it requires understanding complexity. It is easier to believe that a single drink or herb can regulate a complex hormonal cycle than to accept that the body is influenced by multiple interconnected systems. But comfort is not the same as correctness. Another hook to remember: misinformation often spreads faster than truth because it is emotionally appealing. A quick fix sounds better than a structured medical explanation. But your body does not operate on convenience. It operates on physiology. That means every claim about your health should be evaluated through evidence, not emotion. When you start trusting science, something changes in your decision-making. You stop reacting to trends and start relying on verified knowledge. You begin to ask better questions. Has this been studied? What does medical research say? Is there clinical evidence behind this claim? This mindset protects you from unnecessary risks and keeps your health decisions grounded in reality. Science also evolves, which is another important point. What was considered uncertain years ago may now be clearly understood through new research. That is why relying on outdated beliefs can sometimes be misleading. Medical knowledge grows continuously, and trusting it means staying aligned with current understanding rather than fixed traditions. Here is another hook. Your health is too valuable to be guided by guesswork. While myths may offer reassurance, they do not offer reliability. Science may not always give instant comfort, but it provides something far more important: consistency, predictability, and safety based on how the body actually functions. And one more deeper truth: trusting science does not mean rejecting culture or experience. It means prioritizing evidence when making health decisions. It means respecting tradition, but verifying it through medical understanding. It means recognizing that while stories can inspire, only science can confirm what truly protects and supports your body at a biological level. take charge of your health journey. Now let this sink in for a moment, because this is where everything shifts. Your health is not something that happens to you, it is something you actively participate in. Many women grow up believing their bodies should simply be managed by chance, routine, or occasional advice, but the truth is far more powerful. You are not a passive observer of your health, you are the main decision maker in it. Here's the hook you need to remember. No one will understand your body better than you once you start paying attention. Doctors guide, science informs, but your daily awareness is what connects everything together. The way you feel, the patterns you notice, the changes you experience, these are all signals. And when you learn to listen to them, you begin to take ownership of your health in a way that no external source can replace. Now think about this deeply. How often do people delay action when it comes to their health? Small symptoms are ignored. Mild irregularities are brushed aside. Subtle changes are dismissed as normal. But here is the truth. Early awareness is one of the most powerful tools in medicine. Most health issues become complicated not because they start big, but because they are noticed late. Taking charge means paying attention early, not reacting late. And here, another hook. Empowerment in health does not mean doing everything yourself. It means knowing when and how to act. It is about making informed decisions, not emotional reactions. It is about understanding when to observe, when to adjust lifestyle habits, and when to seek professional guidance. Real control is not about guessing. It is about clarity in action. When a woman takes charge of her health journey, she begins to notice patterns that were always there but previously ignored. Energy fluctuations become meaningful. Cycle changes become informative instead of frightening. Emotional shifts become understandable instead of overwhelming. This awareness creates a strong internal connection between mind and body, where decisions are based on understanding rather than confusion. Here is a powerful insight. Responsibility is not a burden when it is paired with knowledge. In fact, it becomes freedom. Because when you understand your body, you are no longer dependent on fear-based decisions or random advice. You become someone who can evaluate situations calmly, respond appropriately, and avoid unnecessary panic. That is what true health empowerment looks like. Another hook to remember: your health journey is ongoing, not occasional. It is not something you only think about when something goes wrong. It is built daily through small choices: sleep quality, hydration, stress levels, movement, nutrition, and awareness. Every one of these decisions contributes to your long-term hormonal and physical balance. Taking charge means respecting these small decisions as much as the big ones. And here is something deeper. When you take responsibility for your health, you also protect your future self. The habits you build today directly influence how your body responds years later. Consistency in awareness and care reduces risk, improves stability, and strengthens your overall well-being. It is a long-term investment, not a short-term reaction. Here's another hook. Waiting for problems to appear before acting is not control. It is delay. Real control is prevention. It is noticing early signs, understanding what they mean, and responding appropriately before things escalate. That mindset alone can transform how a woman experiences her body over time. And finally, one of the most important realizations is this: your health journey is deeply personal, and no one else can walk it for you. Advice can guide you, support can help you, but ownership must come from you. The moment you accept that your body deserves your attention, your respect, and your conscious involvement, everything about how you experience health begins to change internally.